The wind outside held like a caged wolf, dragging dust across the front porch of a lonely ranch house that hadn't seen a visitor in years. Inside, the only sound was the clatter of a spoon against a tin pot and a soft humming, a woman's tune, sweet and low, like the kind you hear in a dream before waking. Her name was Clara May. The folks in town whispered that she'd gone half crazy after her husband died in a mining accident 3 winters ago. But she wasn't crazy, not yet. She just liked the quiet. She liked the way the fire crackled, the way the stew simmered, and the way her humming filled the empty spaces in the house that used to echo with laughter and boots. She stood barefoot on the creaky wooden floor, hair tied loosely behind her, face pale from too many days without sunlight. The stew smelled of rabbit and sage. She tasted it, smiled faintly, and whispered to no one, "Almost done, Tom, almost." Out on the road, miles of empty desert stretched to the horizon. A lone rider cut through the dust, hat low, horse breathing hard. His name was Eli Garrison, a cowboy with no home and too many ghosts behind him. He'd been riding for days, no food, no water, just the endless road and a heart too heavy to rest. But then, he heard it. A voice, a woman's voice humming a tune that didn't belong in this dead stretch of land. He pulled his horse to a stop, the sound faint but clear through the wind. The kind of sound that makes a man forget where he was going. He turned his head, followed the melody until he saw a small house leaning against the sunset. Smoke rose from its chimney, thin and lonely. He hadn't planned to stop, but that voice. He dismounted slowly, boots crunching on dry earth, and stepped onto the porch. The door was half open. He'd peered inside, and froze. There she was, a woman in a faded blue dress, humming softly, stirring a pot. Her face was half lit by firelight, and for a moment, she looked like something out of a dream. Or a memory. He cleared his throat. "Ma'am." The spoon froze mid-stir. Clara turned sharply, eyes wide. For a second, she looked like she might scream, but she didn't. Instead, she stared. The stranger in her doorway wasn't like the drifters she'd seen before. His face was tired, scarred, but his eyes, they were steady, kind, and searching. "You lost?" she asked, voice thin as paper. "Maybe," he said, "or maybe I just found something I didn't know I was looking for." Her brow furrowed. "You've got a way with words for a man covered in dust." He smiled faintly. "Been a long ride. Sit," she said after a pause. "You look half dead. I'll get another bowl." As he stepped inside, the warmth hit him like a memory. The smell of food, the soft light, the gentle hum still echoing in the air. He hadn't felt anything close to home in years. They ate in silence at first, just the sound of spoons in the wind outside. Then he asked, "You live out here alone?" She nodded. "Been 3 years now. My husband, Tom, he didn't make it out of the mine." Eli looked down at his bowl. "I'm sorry." She smiled sadly. "Everyone is, but the desert don't care. It just keeps blowing." He nodded slowly. He understood that better than she knew. After a while, she stood and walked to the window, looking out at the darkening plain. "Most men don't stop here. The road's cursed, they say. Some kind of ghost trail. But you stopped." He leaned back in his chair. "Didn't seem cursed to me. Seemed like the only place still alive." She turned toward him, her face unreadable. "Alive, huh?" Something flickered in her eyes. Sorrow, maybe, or something deeper. She opened her mouth to speak, but before she could, a sharp knock echoed at the door. Eli reached instinctively for the revolver at his side. Clara's face went pale. "No," she whispered. "Not again." The door creaked open. 3 men stepped in, boots heavy, eyes mean. The one in front wore a sheriff's badge, rusted and crooked. Well, the sheriff drawled. "If it ain't the widow Cook." His gaze shifted to Eli. "And she's got company." "Didn't expect that." Eli stood slowly. "You got business here, Sheriff." The man smirked. "Oh, I got plenty. Seems this woman's been holding out on the law. Ain't paid her land tax in over a year. And when the law comes to collect, she gets incooperative." Clara's voice trembled. "I told you, I don't have the money. The mine took everything." "Yeah," the sheriff said, stepping closer. "That's what they all say. But I know you got something left." Eli's hand hovered near his gun. "You should leave." The sheriff laughed, eyes glinting. "And who's gonna make me?" "Some stray cowboy." Eli didn't move, didn't blink. The room filled with the sound of the wind again, and then, faster than a heartbeat, his gun was out. The single shot rang out. The sheriff froze, eyes wide, then dropped to the floor. The two deputies fumbled for their weapons, but Eli's voice cut through like a blade. "Don't." They hesitated, then ran. When the door slammed shut, silence fell again. Clara stood shaking, one hand over her mouth. Eli holstered his gun, breathing heavy. You killed him," she whispered. "He was gonna take everything from you," Eli said softly. Her knees gave way, and she sank to the floor. "You don't understand, he's not the first. They always come, always." Eli crouched beside her. "What do you mean?" Tears welled in her eyes. "Every man who crosses that hill, they end up here. They hear me humming, and they never leave." He stared at her, unsure if she was rambling from fear or telling the truth. "What are you saying, Clara?" She looked up, her face pale as the moon. "Tom didn't die in the mine. He died here, in this house, and I buried him myself." Eli's heart thudded. "You buried your husband," she nodded slowly. "And the others, the ones who came after, the sheriff, his brother, drifters, bandits, I buried them all. They come because they hear me humming, and they stay because," her voice broke, "because the desert don't let them leave." Eli stood abruptly, stepping back. The air felt heavy now, thick with something unseen. The walls seemed to close in, the fire flickered low. "Clara," he said carefully, "you need help." She smiled faintly, eerily. "I needed help years ago, Eli. Now, I just need company." He reached for the door, but it wouldn't open. He pulled harder. Nothing. The wind outside had stopped. The world was silent. When he turned, Clara was standing by the stove again, humming softly. Only now, her shadow on the wall moved differently, slower, longer, like something not quite human. Eli's voice shook. "What are you?" She didn't answer, just hummed. He drew his revolver again, but his hand trembled. "Don't," she said gently, turning toward him. "I don't want to hurt you, Eli. You're kind. Stay, just for a while." "I can't," he whispered. Her smile faded. "They all say that." The lamp flickered, and the light went out. When it came back, Eli was gone. Only his hat lay on the floor. The stew still simmered, the spoon still stirred, and Clara May was humming, that same tune, soft and sweet. Outside, the desert wind started again, dragging footprints across the sand until they disappeared. By sunrise, there was no trace of the stranger, only a single grave behind the house, the dirt freshly turned. Clara sat on the porch, looking out at the empty road, her hands folded neatly in her lap. The wind carried her tune far across the plains, gentle but haunting. And somewhere, miles away, another cowboy paused on the trail, frowning as he caught the faint sound of humming on the wind. He turned his horse toward it, and began to ride.